Alright, how's everybody doing today? Today we're going to do a little tutorial. I don't really know what to call it. It's just a technique that I like to do. I call it the black and white um, picture box technique, I guess. Black and white picture box technique sounds good. So we have a photograph of a bride up here. If her face is in focus and it kind of drops off into a nice soft blur in the background. So it's just a photograph, a random photograph that I grabbed. So it's not nothing pre-planned here. We're going to throw this picture box technique on here. Don't know how it's going to look. I use this every now and then. It's kind of a head turner. People like to. It's kind of something just mess around with. People like to see it every now and then. I have varied comments about it. Some people love it. Some people So, I'll show you how to do it. You guys take it for what it is. Use it if you want. I like it. Like I said, I like to use it every now and then. It's kind of cool. That being said, let's get started. What we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead over here to our black and white adjustment. And we're going to create a new black and white adjustment layer. So we're going to click on that. And if you notice, it puts this black and white layer on our photograph, which converts our photograph to black and white. Once we do that, the next thing we need to do is we want to come over here to our new layer, and this little box right here, we want to make sure that I just click in that to make sure we got the highlight on that. Next thing I do is I want to hide that mask for the moment. So we want to change that mask to black, and the way we do that is by hitting on the keyboard, just hit Control I. And if you noticed, this little mask over here changed to black, and our photograph is now in color again. And that's what we want it to happen. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to come over here to our marquee tool, and we're going to go ahead. If you open this marquee marquee tool up, you can see you have rectangle, elliptical, things like that. Now you can either use a rectangular or elliptical. That's all up to you, personal preference. I usually like to use the rectangular, and that's the one we're going to use today. So we go ahead and we grab that, and now I'm just going to draw a box. However I want to draw it, just a nice box where I want the effect. Now this square here is where the effect is going to be placed. So once we have that, and I positioned it where I want, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to come back over here to my black and white layer mask. And once again, I'm going to hit Control I, and watch what happens. I hit Control I. That basically cut a rectangular shape into my mask. All right, and over here on the picture, you can see that mask now has a hole cut into it, and we can see what's underneath of it, and that's our black and white copy, or our black and white layer there. So these things we no longer need. They call these marching ants. It's just a term they call them. The way you get rid of those is by hitting your Control and your D key on the keyboard, and they disappear. Now we have basically what looks like a black and white square photograph inside of our color photograph. So what I like to do now is I'd like to put a border around our black and white little square here to kind of set it apart. All right, kind of distinguish it between the black and white and the color. And the way we're going to do that is by what we call a stroke. So if we come down here to where it says FX, okay, we click on that, that's going to allow us to add a layer style. And the one we want to pick is the one at the bottom called stroke. So we're going to click on that, and that's going to bring up our layer style window. And if you notice, we have a lot of different layer styles in here that we can choose from. And the one that we're going to currently use is the one that has a check mark here called stroke. Now the stroke, as you can see right now, you can see the stroke actually going around the window, the line. Right now it's color black. Now I like to use white myself. Now you can use red. If you notice, it changes it to red. You can use blue. You can use any color that you choose, your heart desires. Once again, it's a personal preference. I usually like to go with the white. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Then we're going to come up here, and it shows us the position. Where is the position of this stroke at? Well, do we want it on the outside of the box, or do we want it on the inside of the box? I personally like to go to the inside of the box, so I'm going to go ahead and click inside. And then this slider up here will determine the thickness of our stroke in pixels. So as we move it to the right, our stroke is going to get larger. Or I like to call it a frame. Our frame gets larger. Now, obviously, I don't want it that large, so we're going to just move it back down. And once again, this is all personal preference. I kind of like that. Maybe just a hair thicker, something like that. So we're going to leave it like that. So I'm going to use 43, and I'm going to hit OK. So now we have our black and white photo inside a little picture frame on top of our color image. I think it looks pretty neat already. Now we're going to do another effect here. I want this thing, right now it just kind of looks like it's flat on top of the photo. So I want it to kind of look like it's standing up above the photo. So I want to add what's called a drop shadow into this photo. So I'm going to add a drop shadow along these edges right here. To do that, we'll go back down to FX again. Click on that, and if we notice all the way up here, we have a drop shadow. So we're going to actually go ahead and create our drop shadow layer style. And here it is. And if you notice here, we have to tell, the first thing we want to tell it is our angle. Which angle is the light coming from? Now I already have it, it's already defaulted to where I usually like to have it. I usually like to have the light source coming in from the top left. So if the light source is coming from down this way, our shadow is going to wind up falling over here on our photograph. And that's how I have it. Now see, I can actually move this around and this would actually change. And I'll show you once I get the shadow up. That'll make more sense then. So I'm going to tell it how far off the page basically to make the shadow look. So if you see as I slide this, our shadow gets further off the color photo. So it makes it look like it's standing up higher. So we're going to go with about right like that. The spread, we're going to use a little bit of a spread on the shadow and the size of the shadow. You can see it kind of like spreads out the effect, makes it softer. So we're going to go like that. Now this angle, now you'll be able to see this angle a little clearer. If I move this angle, now it makes it look like the light's coming from this direction. Okay? If I move it down here, it makes it look like it's shooting up from the bottom and putting the shadow up top. So hopefully that clarifies this angle a little bit for you. So once again, I want it coming from the upper left. And once we have that, and once again, totally your preference. But once we do have that, we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And now it looks like we have a beautiful black and white photo just basically hovering above our color photo. Now there's another thing we can still do to this if we want. And some people might be happy with it this way. Some people might want to do this next step. The next step that I like to do a lot of times is I'll go ahead and take this black and white photo and I'll actually move it. I'll put a slant on it. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use our transition tool. On the keyboard you hit Control T. And once we do that, you notice that we have these little handles that pop up all around our black and white photo. These are our movement handles, okay? You see how the mouse cursor is an arrow right now. It's an arrow shape. Well, once we move outside of that, it turns into a double-sided arrowhead, one on each side. That means that now we can hold our left mouse button down and we can actually turn the picture. So we're going to do that right now. See how that just twists around? Our shadow follows along with it. Really neat effect. So anyway, I'm going to twist it. I always kind of like to twist it like that. Once you're happy with it, go ahead and hit your Enter key, and that locks it back into place. So it kind of gives it a twist. All right. Anytime you want to move it again, just once again, simply hit the Control T to go back into your transition tool, and then we can actually continue to move it any way you like. Okay. So once you have it where you want it, once again, hit the Enter key, and that pretty much locks it into place. Now there's a couple other little things here and there that you can actually do with this photo if you want. Just to give you an example, if you'd want to put maybe some text on it, we will click on our text tool. We can click in here, and you can put the bride's name. I'm just for sake of convenience, quick and ease, I'm going to put the word bride in there. And you can change the color on it. If you don't want it to be yellow, you can make it red. You can make it blue. You can make it any color of the rainbow you want. I'm going to go back to yellow. maybe a lighter yellow. Click OK. And also we can also move this around in here. Once again, if we want it to angle, a lot of times I want it to angle the same angle with my photograph. So once again, we have our bride, we have our text layer here highlighted. Once that's highlighted, hit your Control T key. Once again, your transform key. And what that does is that now allows us to move our text around. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to angle this a little bit, hit enter, and then I'm going to simply drag it down here and put it on top of or on the bottom of the photo. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to I just want to play around with the color again real quick. See, nothing's set in stone. You can always come back and change this stuff around to however you like it. I'm going to make it, see, if we want, this is kind of neat, because if we want, we could actually match the same exact color of anything in this photo. So if I wanted to match the color of these flowers, once I pull my mouse cursor off of the text color selection box, it turns into an eyedropper. And now that's telling the program, hey, whatever I click on, I want to match that color. So if I click on that, it matches. If I click on the red, it matches that. If I want to click on this green back here, I can do that. Anywhere I can go. If I want to do her skin texture, so anywhere I go and I click, it will match that color. So it's just a little bit of information for you there. I'm just going to leave it on a bright yellow for right now. Click OK. Then I'm going to click back up here. And pretty much we'll zoom in, and our effect is done. The basic tutorial is just to show you how to do this black and white picture box. I just kind of threw this extra text in here as a bonus. Oh, one more thing on this text. You can also put the drop shadow effect on this too if you want. And to do that, make sure your text layer is highlighted. Go down to your FX again. Simply go to drop shadow, and then we can go ahead and we can play around with our selections down here again, just like we did for the picture box. Once we find the way we like it, we're going to click OK. And if you notice now, if you zoom in, it puts a nice little drop shadow in there, just to give it a three-dimensional look. Gives a little bit of kick to the photo. If we want to see what it looks like without that on, or we want to take it off, we simply just turn the little eyeball on and off over here. There it is without it. If we want to turn off this layer effect, this black and white picture box effect, we simply come over here and we click on our little eyeball and turn it off. And we're back to our original photo. So it's really, really neat, different things. And this is some of the advantages of working with layers. You can simply turn these layers on and turn these layers off. Say I wanted to change something. If I didn't like my drop shadow, once again I could click on my black and white layer. I could double click on my drop shadow, and now I can still come in here, and if you notice, I can change the angle of my shadow. So usually nothing is actually set in stone in this, and that's the beautiful part about working with Photoshop and being able to work in layers. You have complete control, and if you screw something up, it's usually not, oh my gosh, I got to start over. No, it's usually you can go back in there and do a pretty good repair on it, or change things without having to redo the whole session or start all over from scratch. So I hope everybody likes this. I hope you get a chance to try it out and use it, see what you think. Maybe turn some heads. Some of your clients might be like, wow, that's really neat. Oh, and I want to show you one more thing. I know I'm making this video longer than I should, but this stuff is really, really neat. I want to show you here also what you can do. I'm going to turn this off for now. But once you have this little window, this little picture box created, you can get your move tool, which is simply this tool up here, place it inside this black and white picture box, hold your left mouse button key down, and now I can actually drag this little window anywhere on the photo that I want. So it's like its own little it's its own little entity here. I can just drag it around. It's like a window looking into the black and white, arena here. It's just really neat how you can do that. So if any time I want, I could just kind of maybe focus on that. I can even hit my Control T key, and I can actually resize this window. However I want to do this, I can do this. So once again, that just proves what I was saying. that nothing is set in stone. You can go back if you don't like a certain thing. You can go back and you can move it, so or change things on it. I hope you guys learned a lot from this little video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. Oh, now since we didn't link this bride with this layer, we didn't link these two layers together, the bride didn't move with it. To fix that, you simply click on your bride layer, click on your bride, then you can just slide it up. If you want them to move together, you just hold with your bride layer selected, you hold your shift key down, click on your black layer also, right click, and there's a thing here called link layers. We link them and you'll see two little chains here. Alright, now if I go ahead and I decide to move this, notice now how the bride is, the text bride is actually moving with the window, because now I've linked them both together. So anyway, I'm finished, I'm done, I'm going to get off of here. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing me. So anyway, once again, I hope you enjoy it. Get some practice doing it, see how you like it, and leave me some comments. Till next time, you guys take care.